Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles, and on this episode we're doing a top 10. Topic of the top 10, top 10 female wrestlers for 2023. Now as you may have seen, last top 10 I did a top 10 male wrestlers, so it's only fair that we do the women on this side. With that being said, let's jump right in with number 10, Tiffany Stratton. Tiffany Stratton has pretty much rocket shipped her way to the top of NXT. She has grown very quickly and has evolved very rapidly to being one of the best wrestlers on NXT whole package wise. She has a well-defined character, she's good in the ring, and the one thing that I thought was really cool, a few months back when I went to an NXT show and she was there, I noticed something that I've never seen a wrestler do before, and I'm sure it's going to happen more often now. Her actual ring gear, where most people would have like sequins or something that sparkles when the light hits it, she had LEDs there, and it was kind of subtle, but it made her shine brighter than all of the rest of the women on the show. And it kind of was such a genius little move. I don't know if it was her idea, I don't know whose idea it was, but it just stood out to me that it set her just that much apart. And it's little things like that that'll take a wrestler that's a star and make them a superstar. I really enjoyed Tiffany Stratton, hence why she's on my list. I'll go from that on number 9, Trinity Fatu, or just Trinity. There was a lot of fanfare made when Naomi and Sasha Banks left WWE, aka Naomi is Trinity, as to where they would show up, and some of it kind of felt like Trinity was an also-ran in the situation, not taking into account that she's one of the most athletically gifted wrestlers in the world. I love the fact that she went to Impact Wrestling, where she could absolutely prove that she's one of the top women wrestlers in the world, in what I consider the top women's wrestling division, at least in North America. And that's one thing I forgot to mention up front. You're not going to notice any Stardom or any Joshi women here, basically because I don't watch enough of the product to consider them. It's not a slight on them from what I've seen of their work. I think it's really good. I digress. Back to Trinity. Trinity has reinvented herself without actually changing who she was. She's come back and shown that she's one of the top women in the world, deserves to be thought as such, and really has elevated her game with a roster of really talented women, becoming the Impact Women's Champion. I think she's awesome. That's why Trinity's on my list. Going from that to number 8, Bianca Belair. And that just goes to show you how crazy this list is. Most years, Bianca Belair would be fighting for the number 1 spot. And I kind of feel, and this is no knock on Bianca herself, I feel like she was in a holding pattern all year. Like, she didn't have anything meaningful to do. She was a cog in somebody else's story for most of the year. I think she does need a little bit of freshening up. There was a rumored heel turn, which I don't think is going to happen now, but I think she needs something to shake her up. Either a move to Raw, a new opponents, something different to bring a little bit more out of her. I like Bianca. I think she's awesome. And it's kind of hard when you're talking about somebody that's on the top 10 and kind of saying that they've slipped a bit, because being on the top 10 means you're one of the 10 best in the world. So even with her being on what I consider a down year, she's still better than most of the women's wrestlers in the world, in my opinion. I think she's awesome. I hope 2024 we see a little bit more. Maybe she wins the Royal Rumble. Hopefully she has a prominent spot somewhere on WrestleMania, and we bring her back to form. I love Bianca. I think the sky is still the limit for her. I still don't think that we've seen the best she has to offer, and that's awesome because she's amazing the way she is. Now going from that, our number 7, the person that Bianca's chased a bit this year, Iyo Sky. Iyo to me is one of those wrestlers that always felt like she wasn't getting the push that she deserved or getting the booking that matched with the talent. And it feels like as soon as Triple H fully took over, you started to see Iyo's stock rise and rise until the point where she's now the SmackDown Women's Champion. She's become the focal point of Damage Control, and in what looks to seem, and in what seems to be an upcoming somewhat revolt or coup against Bayley, the once leader of Damage Control. It feels like Iyo Sky is right in the middle of that, and she's out there putting on great matches, carrying the championship like a true champion should, all while having a lot of really great heel mannerisms. She's really stepped up the heel portion of her game. I love Iyo Sky. She's awesome, hence why she's here on my list. And I realize I've said that about all of these women so far. Just take for granted if I don't say that about one of these women. Just know that I love all these women. I think they're awesome wrestlers. And when I say love, I mean it in the fact that I love their in-ring work. Going from Iyo, our number 6, Jordynne Grace. I talked about Trinity and I talked about how stacked the Impact women's roster is. And I feel like Jordynne is one of the reasons it's so stacked. She's kind of one of the flag bearers there, kind of like Bianca Belair for WWE. She's someone that's always near the top. She's always impressive. Her strength and her agility are pretty much unmatched. She looks amazing. She wrestles amazing. She's just a great talent, in my opinion. She is one of the reasons why anyone would tune into Impact Wrestling. To see a star like this, to see someone that you can't see anywhere else in the world. I think she's absolutely amazing. That's why she's on my list. That's why she's up so high. Going from Jordynne, our number 5. A woman that is closely associated with Jordynne Grace. Her counterpart, the Rock to her Steve Austin, the Lita to her Trish, Deonna Purrazzo. And again, much like Bianca Belair, in any other year, I think Deonna Purrazzo would be in contention for this top spot. She's absolutely one of the best women's wrestlers of this generation. If I were to go through a 2020s at the end of this decade and pick my top 10 women's wrestlers, I'm pretty sure Deonna's going to be right up there at the top. She's had a lot of competition both inside of Impact Wrestling and outside of Impact Wrestling for being that top women's wrestler, as you can see. It doesn't take from the fact that I think she's bell to bell. In my opinion, she's the best woman in ring in the world. I don't think there's a better wrestler when it comes to being between those ropes than Deonna Purrazzo. I think she's absolutely amazing. She's the kind of wrestler you build a division around, kind of like Awesome Kong of the past, or Gail Kim, or in other companies, someone like Bianca or Becky Lynch, someone that you can build that division around her and have her be the centerpiece. It's going to be really interesting because I think the rumor is in the very beginning of the year, her contract with Impact Wrestling is up, and it seems to be that she's interested in going elsewhere. I'm kind of lukewarm on that because as much as I would love to see her go to the WWE and wrestle people like Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley, Raquel Gonzalez, and all the top talent they have there, I also kind of feel like, will she get lost in the shuffle? If she goes somewhere like AEW, which I've gone on record saying hasn't treated their women as well as they should, will she get lost there? I don't know. I'm kind of trepidatious to see what she goes to next. I'd love to see her stay in Impact Wrestling, much like AJ Styles did, and build her career there and set a legacy. I think she's absolutely awesome. I think she's going to be great wherever she goes. I just worry about how she'll be booked if she goes somewhere else. I'll go from that on number 4, Kairi Sane. I did mention that I wasn't going to talk much about Joshi wrestling because I'm not an expert, but I did get to see quite a bit of Kairi's work while she worked with Stardom, while she worked with New Japan in their women's division, trying to establish that, her and Mercedes Moné. Couple that with her return to WWE, much like I said with Iyo, being kind of a catalyst for what's going on with Damage Control, which I think Damage Control is a great storyline. I think she's absolutely shined this year. I think she's just a step above her partner, Iyo Sky, in that group. And I think in the long run, we're going to see Kairi being the more successful of the two, the more title runs, the more prominent feuds. And I think with her combined accolades, that put her just a bit higher on my list. I'll go from that our number 3. I talked about how disappointing the AEW women's division is, and it's by no fault of this woman here, and that's timeless Toni Storm. Arguably the best gimmick of the year, the best transformation of the year, the most must-see woman on AEW television. Her championship run has been fantastic. Her matches have been fantastic. The only thing I kind of worry about is we see time and time again, once your run is over as a women's champion in AEW, you kind of get lost in the shuffle. people like Britt Baker it's happened to. I can't tell you the last time I've seen Saraya wrestle, and if I have, it's only been in a tag team match. Hikaru Shida's been lost in the shuffle for months at a time, and I kind of worry about that whenever I talk about someone in AEW's women's division, because their division is, to put it blunt, not booked well. However, Toni Storm has made something different. We're not quite to the point where she needs to change it up, but maybe adding a little bit of flavor would help her a bit to carry it on longer. I love what she's doing. I think she's fantastic, hence why she's on my list. I'll go from that to number 2. With as much as I've talked about how bad Tony Khan's booking is, surprisingly, the Ring of Honor Women's Champion Athena makes it all the way up this high on the list. I feel much like Toni Storm that she's an outlier instead of an example of what can be done within the divisions. And I feel like even with that, we're not seeing it because she's behind a paywall. You have to pay for Honor Club to see most of Athena's matches. And if you do, you get treated to one of the best runs in women's wrestling that AEW's ever had. Either AEW or Ring of Honor. Both are synonymous with each other, being as they're owned by the same owner. It's kind of like saying SmackDown and Raw at this point. The character work, the building of her minions, everything that she's done there, the matches she's had, she's really stepped her game up. I'd like to see her be rewarded and moved to the AEW roster itself, maybe pass the torch on to Billie Starkz, who could take her role in Ring of Honor and continue that legacy there, while Athena goes to the main roster and feuds with someone like Toni Storm, or even goes for the TNT Championship just to improve her profile. I think more wrestling fans, should get to see the fantastic work she's doing, and I would love to see it highlighted more on a weekly televised program that's not behind a paywall. Now, before I get to my number 1, I do a thing here on my top 10s called the best of the rest. Basically, people that were considered for the list but didn't quite make it. First up, Becky Lynch. And yeah, that's crazy too, isn't it? Much like I said with Bianca Belair, Deonna Purrazzo, it is weird not having Becky Lynch towards the top of the list here. She's obviously one of the biggest women's talents in the history of wrestling. Her star power is immense. I feel like there have been some great strides this year, the stuff she did in NXT. I also feel like she grew stale at points, and I feel like the evolution back to the man character didn't quite happen fast enough. And this isn't a knock on Becky Lynch. She's absolutely awesome. I'll watch anything she does. I just kind of feel, much like I said with Bianca Belair, she fell in kind of a rut this year, and it probably is no fault of her own. I feel like there needs to be a little bit more bringing her back to that character that she had that pretty much made everybody love her. I can't wait to see what she does in 2024, because I think by the end of 2024, she's going to be right up near the top of the list again. Last but not least on the best of the rest, Lyra Valkyria. And I'm probably pronouncing that last name wrong. I always do. Lyra, to me, is just awesome. I love everything she brings to the table. Her wrestling style, her attitude, her never say die, never give up personality. She reminds me a lot of Sami Zayn and what Sami Zayn brings to the table. She just has this likability that shines through that very few wrestlers have, and she's definitely one of those. I think the stuff she's doing in NXT, her rise to becoming the NXT Women's Champion, I think it's awesome. I think she's going to be a main star in the WWE for a lot of years to come. She's just awesome in my opinion. Now, before I get to my number 1, if you think I put someone too high, put someone too low, left someone off the list altogether, let me know down here in the comments. While you're there, smash that like button, share the video, subscribe if you haven't. If you see where it says join, that's how you become a channel member. Becoming a channel member definitely helps out. Shout out to Chris. Thank you for becoming a member, my friend. I definitely appreciate it. With that being said, our number 1 women's wrestler of the year, the Eradicator, Rhea Ripley. How can anyone argue against this? To me, Rhea is one of the biggest stars in wrestling, regardless of woman, man, tag team, division, company. She has that it factor in a way that very few people have. The people I would compare her to are The Rock, Steve Austin, Ric Flair. She just has a charisma that very few people have ever had. And she has an instant connectability. The fans eat up everything she does. She has a believability. She has a way that everything she does makes you want to look at her. It makes you want to watch her. Whether it be her insane physical gifts, her stunning looks, her power, her command of the Judgment Day, and kind of basically being the leader of Judgment Day even though there's no leader. To me, I think when all is said and done, Rhea Ripley may go down as the best women's wrestler of all time. I think she's that good. I think within 5 years, we may see her get snatched up by Hollywood and she may be the next Terminator, a next big action star, much like Rock was, much like he went on to do great things. I could easily see her being a villain in a John Wick movie, being someone in one of the Fast and the Furious movies, being a superhero for either Marvel or DC. I mean, she just has everything you would look for in a star. She has star qualities, star capabilities. To me, it's a no-brainer. Mommy is always on top. And for this list, Mommy is definitely on top. I think she's awesome. Everything about her is amazing. Hence why she's the top of my list. With all that being said, again, if you like the list, if you think I put someone too high, too low, you disagree with someone, there's someone I left off that you'd rather have seen on the list, let me know down here. While you're there, let me know who your favorite women's wrestler of the year was. Who do you think had the best year? Put it down there in the comments. With all that being said, my name is George Coles, and this has been another Heel Heat Top 10.